One morning on the quiet of my 50th birthday, I stood before the mirror, as I had done countless times before. But this time my gaze lingered. The fine lines around my eyes, the strands of gray in my hair, the reflection staring back at me gently whispered a truth I could no longer overlook. I am no longer young. The signs had been quietly accumulating in my life. My health had started sending subtle warnings, the occasional backache, unexplained fatigue, and lab results that now needed closer monitoring. My parents once, the strong pillars I leaned on, had grown frail, and some had already departed from this world. Friends around me spoke more often of illnesses, insurance plans, and preparations for the later chapters of life. Some quietly updated their wills, others faced sudden hospital stays, and a few familiar faces had begun disappearing from our gatherings. I realized then, time was no longer the endless sea it once felt like in my 20s and 30s. Each passing year now seemed like a thinning page in a book, prompting a quiet question deep within me. Have I lived enough? Have I fulfilled my life? The question carried no echo, but it slipped gently into my mornings, into sleepless nights, and into quiet reflections on the path behind me. And from that moment on, a journey began, a journey of confronting my regrets, facing my unfinished spaces, and embracing the late lessons life was ready to offer. As I entered my 50s, regrets began to surface more clearly. They didn't shout. They didn't rush in. But in the quiet moments, they gently knocked on my heart. Kyakuan. Regrets for what I never did. There were dreams I once carried in my youth, learning something new, trying a different career path, daring to live for my true passions. But then responsibilities came: work, family, endless obligations. The shoulds and musts slowly pushed those dreams further into the background until the opportunities quietly disappeared. There were trips I once dreamed of: watching the sun set on a distant beach, climbing a mountain I always wanted to see, or simply taking a summer to wander freely with my family. But these were postponed, replaced by busy schedules, work commitments, and endless priorities that always seemed more urgent. There were words of love and affection I longed to say, but never found the right moment. I kept them inside, waiting for the perfect time. And then as time passed, some of those I loved were gone forever. The things I wanted to express remained unspoken. 2. Regrets for what I once feared too much. For years, I worried about my career, my children, my finances. Every decision came with an inner voice saying, just hold on a little longer. I poured my energy into being useful, being responsible, carrying the weight for everyone around me. But the price was my own self. My health quietly faded. Simple joys slipped away. Personal dreams were endlessly delayed. I always thought, when everything settles, when work is stable, when the children are grown, I'll finally live for myself. But that day kept moving further away. And as I finally paused to look back, I realized half my life had passed, and I had barely truly lived for myself. 3. Regrets for relationships I let slip away. There were dear ones who had always been close, yet I kept telling myself I was too busy. I didn't spend enough time with them. And when they were suddenly gone, all that remained were the unmade phone calls, the conversations that never happened, the meals we never shared. There were feelings I kept locked inside: apologies, words of gratitude, silent affections I never had the courage to voice. I feared it would be awkward, that the timing wasn't right, that silence was safer. And now I am left alone with those words that were never spoken. At 50, I carry not only wrinkles and graying hair, but also the quiet weight of unfinished things. Yet even from these regrets, I slowly began to realize, as long as time still lies ahead, I can start learning to live differently. Perhaps the deepest pain doesn't come from the things I haven't done, but from the illusion I carried for so many years. There's still time. We often tell ourselves, I'll travel when the children are grown. I'll pursue my hobbies once homework is stable. I'll spend more time with family after I retire. And slowly these some days keep drifting further away, like distant destinations we never quite reach. Turning 50 feels like the moment when that thin veil is finally lifted. For the first time, I see with clarity time is limited. It waits for no one. And no one knows exactly how many years, months, or even days they have left. Yet in that truth, I also discovered something precious. Every morning I wake up is already a gift. Every chance to say words of love is a blessing. Every moment I'm still here is nothing short of a miracle. Only when we truly face the limits of time do we finally learn how to live fully inside each moment we are given. No more postponing, no more waiting, no more excuses, because someday may never arrive. Only right now truly belongs to us. One, learning to let go of what cannot be changed. There are things in my past that no matter how many times I replay them, can never be undone. The missed opportunities, the choices I once made, the loved ones who are no longer here, they've all settled quietly behind me. If I keep blaming myself, endlessly trapped in regret, I only waste the precious time I still have ahead, time that could be lived with peace instead of sorrow. I've learned to gently remind myself, the past is a lesson, not a sentence. Every mistake I made was a lesson paid for with real experience. They no longer exist to break me, but to remind me to live more fully starting today. 2, accepting my own imperfection. No one lives perfectly. No one fulfills every role or makes every decision flawlessly. Even though I tried my best, there are things I left unfinished. And that too is simply part of being human. For so long, I carried the pressure to be the perfect parent, the ideal partner, the flawless friend, the dependable employee. But now I've come to understand no one is born to be perfect at everything. What matters most is, today I still have the chance to heal what can still be healed. By embracing my imperfections, I open the door to kindness and forgiveness for myself, a door I had unknowingly kept closed for many years. 3, practicing deep gratitude for the present. Instead of constantly looking backward, I've begun learning to bow my head in gratitude for what remains. Each morning I wake up and feel my breath step outside and inhale the morning air, hear the laughter of my children or grandchildren. All of it is grace. I've come to realize happiness doesn't lie in grand achievements or distant milestones. It lives inside these ordinary moments where I am still here, still breathing, still alive. Gratitude for my very presence. That perhaps is the strongest medicine to soften the sharp edges of regret. 4, cherish relationships. Start now. I've learned that some things should no longer be postponed. If you want to call someone, call them today. If you've been meaning to check in, to meet, to reconnect, do it while you still can. Our parents, our friends, our loved ones, none of them will be with us forever. Every phone call, every conversation, every shared meal is a gift that time still allows us to share. The words we've kept inside, it's time to speak them. Words of love, words of gratitude, words of apology. Don't wait for the right moment, because sometimes that moment never arrives. And for those we may have unintentionally neglected, now is the time to love them more, to listen more, to be present with them more before life quietly closes those doors. 5, simplify life. Turn toward spiritual stillness. As I pass through the middle of life, I realize the years ahead don't need more achievements. I no longer need to prove anything to anyone, not even to myself. Instead, I'm learning to rest in each breath, to be present in the simple, ordinary moments. Every morning I wake up, every sunrise I witness, every bird I hear singing, every hand I hold. These are quiet miracles. I practice meditation. I practice mindfulness. I simplify my desires, release unnecessary ambitions, and make space in my heart for peace. Because in the end, what matters most is not what I own, but the stillness in my soul when I close my eyes and softly whisper, "Today I lived fully." The past cannot be changed, but the peace you create today that will stay with you until your very last breath. Healing regret is not about erasing the past. It's about learning to smile at it, to gently hold all that has been without judgment or bitterness. 50 is not the end. 50 is the quiet doorway into a new kind of freedom, the freedom to finally live for yourself, to no longer chase perfection, to no longer postpone joy, to breathe, to love, to forgive, to simply be. Because the deepest healing doesn't come from fixing what once went wrong. It comes from honoring what is still right in front of you in this very moment. And as you walk forward from here, may you carry the simple truth gently in your heart. I am still here. I still have today. And that is enough. If this message speaks to your heart, you're not alone. So many of us carry silent regrets, but together we can heal by returning to presence. Subscribe to Mindful Healing for more gentle reflections like this. Leave a comment and share. What is one regret you're learning to release? Like and share this video. Someone you love may need to hear these words today, because sometimes the smallest sharing can create the greatest healing.